Welcome to Panels and Borders. I'm Dominic, and in this video I'm going to be doing a top 5 list. Anyone that spends any time on YouTube will quickly see a lot of top 10 lists. I myself, for reasons I can't really explain, love watching videos of top 10 lists. I'm doing a top 5 instead though, because for me personally, the top 5 is easy. Once I get past 5, I have a difficult time deciding which items should be ranked 7 or 8 and stuff like that. With that out of the way, let's move on to the top 5 coolest science fiction and fantasy planets. The one thing I love about science fiction and fantasy is the amazing planets that appear throughout these stories. Some planets are well planned out, richly designed, and so well thought out they are characters unto themselves, while others serve merely as a backdrop for the story that is taking place. So I thought I'd make a video covering my top 5 favorite science fiction and fantasy planets. It seems that science fiction and desert planets go hand in hand like barren wings. With that said, let's start with number 5. Number 5, Tatooine, Star Wars. The harsh desert planet of Tatooine that orbits double stars Tatoo 1 and Tatoo 2, located in the Arrakis sector in the outer rim of the galaxy. This world falls far out from the Republic and later Imperial core. However, this backwater world, filled with smugglers, bounty hunters, and gangsters, is strategically located at the nexus of several hyperspace routes. With 2 native species inhabiting Tatooine, the small robed-covered Jawas, who are the scavengers of this world, along with the primitive and vicious Tusken Raiders, the Sand People. It is the birthplace of Anakin Skywalker and home to his son, Luke Skywalker. No planet in the Star Wars universe is as fleshed out or as popular as the planet Tatooine. When I first saw the original Star Wars as a child, the mysterious vastness of the desert planet, along with all the strange creatures on it, grabbed my attention. The planet made another appearance in Return of the Jedi, and we got to see the epic battle between Luke, Leia, Chewie, Lando, and the droids against the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt, as they rescue Han from being a permanent trophy in Jabba's palace. As a child, my friends and I would reenact the awesome showdown over the deadly Sarlacc pit, pretending that the picnic tables in the backyard was the sail barge. It was Tatooine in the summer and Hoth in the winter. As cool as Tatooine is, there is another planet that is strange and awe-inspiring. That is a stark contrast to Tatooine. It produced Earth's greatest hero and savior. Number 4, KRYPTON, DC Universe. The planet KRYPTON was the birthplace of Superman, one of comic books' greatest superhero characters. KRYPTON orbited the red sun called Rao, and depending on which version, is located 50 light years from Earth or in another galaxy altogether. KRYPTON, again, depending on the continuity, had 2 moons, one of which was destroyed by a scientist called Jax as a result of his experiments with space travel. He was the first Kryptonian criminal sentenced to the Phantom Zone. The planet exploded moments after Kal-El, Superman, was shot from the planet by his parents Jor-El and Lara in a spacecraft programmed to take the baby Kal-El to Earth and escape certain death on Krypton. The planet's destruction was caused, again depending on which version, an unstable core or old age. The inhabitants of Krypton look identical to humans, but are always depicted as being much more advanced technologically and morally. There have been various versions of the planet over the years. My favorite 2 versions of the planet is the one seen in the 1979 Superman film, which depicted the planet as a strange-looking combination of crystal and snow, with all the technology seeming like magic and all crystal-based. The other being the version depicted in the 80s John Byrne reboot of the series, which still showed a highly advanced race with technology that seemed like magic. It was depicted as being much closer looking to Earth. This planet has a huge impact on me as a kid, and I would often create my own superheroes who would come from very Krypton-like planets. A friend and myself even created a massive snow fort in his backyard one winter, and pretended we were on Krypton. That is why it's on my top 5 list. However, Krypton is not the only planet in fiction that can produce people of immense physical strength. Number 3, Eternia, Masters of the Universe. The planet Eternia is home to the most powerful man in the universe, He-Man, who wields the Sword of Power. The strange and mysterious planet is located at the center of the universe, on the borderline of good and evil. At the center of the planet is a spark left over from the creation of the universe, and is called the Star Seed. Eternia also has 2 moons, which are both inhabited. Bright Moon, whose society is prosperous and advanced. Then the Dark Moon Phantos, whose society is dark and barbaric. Phantos is also the supplier of the near-indestructible metal called photanium. Eternian civilization is founded on the remains of a much older society that possessed advanced technology and powerful sorcery. Details about the older civilization are mostly lost to the current civilization due to an event called the Great Wars. This planet has a society that is a blend of magic and technology. It is a world filled with robots, dragons, shadow beasts, sorcerers, computers, ancient temples, magic castles, and everything in between. Unlike some of the other planets on this list, the characters must leave the planet to get to all the action. Not so on Eternia. It is a world so fleshed out with Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, the Royal Palace, the airborne Kingdom of Avion, Morania, the Ice Kingdom, Aquatica, the Undersea Kingdom, and the list goes on. The cast of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe never have to step foot off Eternia to have amazing larger-than-life adventures and vast quests. Masters of the Universe was my favorite toy line as a kid. Hours of my imagination was spent having adventures on the planet Eternia. Through watching the cartoon, reading the storybooks and comics. Mostly, however, was through all the cool He-Man figures my parents bought me as a kid. Masters of the Universe wasn't the only 80s toy line that whipped up a super cool planet that was part of a commercial juggernaut, with the sole purpose of getting kids to pester their parents to buy them the toys. Number 2, Cybertron, the Transformers. Millions of years before any human would walk the face of the Earth, there was the technological wonder of Cybertron, a completely machine world and home to the coolest robots ever, the Transformers. The planet Cybertron is located in the binary star system of Alpha Centauri. The planet, for hundreds of years, was consumed by a civil war between 2 different fractions of Transformers: the peace-loving Autobots and the military warlike Decepticons. Cybertron is more than just a planet, but a living entity known as Primus. Primus, who was created at the dawn of existence by the One, along with his opposite, Unicron. He took on planet form and explored the early universe. He eventually settled in the current location and created the Transformers. Cybertron can transform into Primus, a huge giant robot, although he has never been shown to do this. Cybertron, depending on which version of the Transformers continuity we're following, has 4 moons: Moon Base 1, aka Moon Alpha, Luna 1, or Hecate, with the other 3 moons being Moon Base 2, Moon Base 3, and Moon Base 4. When I was growing up, the Transformers was another one of my favorite toy lines. However, they were more expensive than He-Man and G.I. Joe, so I didn't really have many of them. The peak of my interest in the Transformers hit an all-time high when I saw the animated movie. This fictional planet never ceased to amaze me as a child, with its cosmic mythology built around it, and how cool looking it was depicted in cartoons, books, and comics. I spent many hours drawing warring robots blasting each other on the planet Cybertron. Also, my friends and I would act out epic battles between Autobots and Decepticons for the control of Cybertron in our backyards. As I said earlier in the video, science fiction and desert planets go together like bear and wings, so no list can be complete without the granddaddy of desert planets. The desert planet that inspired George Lucas to create Tatooine for Star Wars. Number 1, Arrakis, Frank Herbert's Dune. The planet Arrakis, also known as Dune, orbits the white star called Canopus, and is the only planet in the system that contains life. Arrakis has 2 moons, Krellin and Arvon. Arrakis is a hostile desert planet with almost no water, deadly sandstorms, and it is home to the massive sandworms known as Shai-Hulud. The native inhabitants of Arrakis are a people known as the Fremen, and are the descendants of the Zenzuni Wanderers, which settled on Arrakis over 10,000 years before. Arrakis is home to the most precious commodity in the entire universe, the spice melange. Spice is the lifeblood of the empire of the known universe. Without it, space travel would cease, and the planets would be centuries apart. The spice in its most concentrated form becomes a gas that is breathed in by a Space Guild navigator. This gives the navigator the ability to navigate their space liner through fold space. The spice also expands consciousness and extends life. The spice is a byproduct of the Arrakeen worm's life cycle. Arrakis was under control of the evil House Harkonnen until the Emperor ordered the noble House Atreides to take over Arrakis and its spice mining operations. However, the changeover was a trap planned between the Emperor and the Harkonnen. Once the Atreides was on Arrakis, they were betrayed by a once loyal friend, Dr. Huey, and their house shields dropped, leaving them vulnerable. A joint force of Harkonnen and the Emperor's very own Sardaukar, soldier fanatics, ambushed the Atreides and killed the ruling Duke Leto of House Atreides. However, his concubine, Lady Jessica, and their son Paul Atreides would escape into the desert. There they would meet the Fremen, and Paul Atreides would become their leader, Muad'Dib, the Kwisatz Haderach, then lead a rebellion that would overthrow the Harkonnen and the Emperor as well. Paul Atreides would then take the Emperor's daughter as his wife in a political marriage and become the new ruler of the known universe. Unlike the other planets on my list, Arrakis, otherwise known as Dune, was not a big part of my childhood. I had seen the 1984 film Dune as a child, and once again as an early teen. However, the movie slowly grew on me as I got older. I didn't read the Frank Herbert novel Dune until I was in my early 20s. Having slowly developed a love for the 84 film led me to eventually read the book. When I did read the book, I fell in love, and it is one of my favorite science fiction books of all time. The reason Arrakis is number one on this list is because no planet in fiction, to my knowledge, has been as well thought out and detailed. Also, Dune is a mysterious planet that makes you think about it long after you have read the book. Frank Herbert does such a masterful job of breathing life into all the areas of Dune, like the city of Arrakeen, the city of Kartag, Tuono Basin, and Steech Tabar. Also, the highly detailed culture and religion of the Fremen, which is built and revolves around the scarcity of water, the massive sandworms, and the mysterious spice, with such realism that it feels like it very feasibly could be us 20,000 years from now. The planet Arrakis is not simply a backdrop setting for the story, but a character all unto itself in the story of Dune. It has caused me to go on and read almost all the Dune novels, and reread the original Dune novel more than once. Also, I've sunk many hours in the early 2000s playing the real-time strategy game Dune 2000 on my PC, where the point of the whole game was to conquer the sands of Arrakis. Not only that, but many elements from Star Wars, one of my favorite sci-fi series, can be traced back to Frank Herbert's Dune. There is no doubt George Lucas was a fan of Dune himself, and that's why it's number one on my list. And those are my top 5 favorite science fiction and fantasy planets of all time. Let me know what you think of this list in the comments, and what are your favorite planets in science fiction and fantasy. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the next one.